For years, the world's biggest banks told you that cryptocurrency was a scam, a fraud, a tool for criminals. Rat poison squared, as Warren Buffett famously put it. The CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, once threatened to fire any trader caught dealing in it. The message from the titans of finance couldn't have been clearer. Stay away. But what if I told you that while they were publicly trashing crypto, they were secretly racing to build their own? This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's the biggest strategic pivot in modern finance, and it's happening right now behind closed doors. In the innovation labs of the very institutions that told you to fear it, they aren't just dipping their toes in. They are building a new financial system from the ground up, a system that they will control, powered by the very technology they condemned. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to expose why banks secretly love crypto and what it means for the future of your money. Let's rewind the clock a bit. It's not hard to remember the sheer hostility Wall Street aimed at Bitcoin and the whole crypto world. The narrative was simple and brutal. Crypto was the Wild West, a lawless digital frontier with no real value, no oversight, and no place in a serious portfolio. The heads of the largest financial institutions on Earth basically went on a media tour to denounce it. They said it was a bubble, just like the 17th century Dutch tulip craze. They pointed to its insane volatility, showing charts of its wild price swings as proof it could never be a serious asset. They highlighted its use in shady activities, painting the entire space with a broad criminal brush. The core message was a kind of paternalistic concern. The guardians of the financial system are protecting the public from this dangerous new toy. And this PR war was incredibly effective. It created a clear us versus them narrative. Banks were the bastions of stability, security, and trust. Crypto was for anarchists, gamblers, and tech utopians who wanted to burn the system down. The idea of a bank like J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs ever touching crypto seemed not just unlikely, but laughable. They were mortal enemies, right? One stood for centralization and control, the other for decentralization and freedom. The battle lines were drawn. But this public war of words was a brilliant smokescreen. Because while the CEOs were on TV disparaging Bitcoin, their quants and tech departments were deep in study. They weren't looking at crypto as a threat to be defeated, but as a technology to be understood, dissected, and ultimately co-opted. They knew the original dream of a peer-to-peer decentralized currency was a threat to their business model. But the underlying technology, the blockchain, that wasn't a threat. It was an opportunity, a once-in-a-century opportunity. Let's get why the banks did a complete 180. You have to understand a dirty little secret of traditional finance. The system they run is ancient, clunky, and unbelievably expensive. On the surface, it all looks sleek and modern. You tap your card, payment goes through. You send a wire, it arrives. But behind that facade is a maze of archaic processes and middlemen that would shock most people. Think about how money actually moves around the world. When you send an international wire transfer, that money doesn't just zap from your bank to the destination. It hops through a complex network of correspondent banks. And it's not just international payments. Even domestic systems are surprisingly slow. For a long time, the financial world operated on T+2, or trade date plus 2 days. That meant when you bought a stock. The final exchange of cash for the security didn't actually happen for 2 whole days. And while the U.S. market finally sped things up to T+1 in May 2024, that still means your money is in financial limbo for a full day, creating risk. And internationally, that 3 to 5 day slog is still very much the reality. But it also creates massive overhead. Banks spend billions every year on back-office operations, on compliance, and on managing the sheer complexity of this Rube Goldberg machine of finance. They have entire skyscraper floors filled with people whose only job is to make sure the numbers on one bank's ledger match the numbers on another's. A system where the ledger is shared and transparent, making all that costly reconciliation obsolete. The banks looked at this, a light bulb went on, and they realized the solution to their biggest headaches was the very technology they had been publicly trashing. They saw a way to gut their own operational costs, and the race was on to harness it for themselves. So, how do you take the revolutionary power of crypto and bend it to the will of the establishment? The first, and maybe most important piece of the puzzle, is the stablecoin. For all the hype around Bitcoin, the real gateway drug for banks is a far less glamorous digital asset. A stablecoin is a cryptocurrency pegged to a stable asset, usually a major currency like the US dollar. In theory, for every one digital coin, there's $1 sitting in a bank account as a reserve. This simple design gets rid of the wild volatility that made banks so nervous about assets like Bitcoin. Why is this so powerful for a bank? Because it gives them the best of both worlds: the speed, efficiency, and programmability of a crypto asset. With the stability and familiarity of the US dollar, it's a crypto-powered dollar. Think about what this unlocks: that 3-2-5-day international wire transfer. With a stablecoin on a modern blockchain, it's a 3-minute transfer. The whole correspondent banking system with its middlemen and fees just gets bypassed. A transaction can cost pennies and run 24/7, a crazy improvement over the old way. Suddenly, a bank can offer its corporate clients the ability to move huge sums of money around the globe instantly, at a fraction of the cost. It's a massive competitive advantage, but it goes deeper. This is about rewiring the bank's own plumbing. Banks are looking to use stablecoins to manage their own liquidity. A huge international bank has pools of capital sitting in different countries all over the world. Juggling these positions is a constant, massive headache. With programmable stablecoins, you can automate it. Money can be moved and settled instantly between branches to meet real-time needs, no human intervention required. Then they take that huge pile of dollars the reserves on invested in safe, interest-bearing assets like U.S. Treasury bonds. With potentially trillions of dollars flowing into these systems, the interest earned from those reserves could become a massive new profit center. It's a modern spin on one of the oldest tricks in banking: using customer deposits to make money. This isn't some far-off future. It's happening now. Payments giants like Visa are settling transactions with stablecoins on public blockchains. And some of the world's most respected financial institutions, like Standard Chartered and Santander, are backing stablecoin issuers, recognizing this is the future of payments. If stablecoins are the secret weapon to fix the financial system's broken plumbing, then tokenization is the bank's shiny new profit machine. This is the idea that has executives at BlackRock and JP Morgan genuinely excited, and it's arguably an even bigger deal than instant payments. So, what is tokenization? It's basically the process of converting the rights to an asset into a digital token on a blockchain. Think of it like turning a physical, real-world asset into a set of digital Legos. That asset could be anything: a skyscraper, a rare painting, a portfolio of home loans, a shipment of gold, you name it. Right now, these kinds of assets are incredibly illiquid. If you own a piece of a commercial building, how do you sell it? You can't just log into an app and click a button. You've got to find a buyer, hire lawyers, wade through mountains of paperwork, and the whole thing can take months. It's slow, expensive, and reserved for a tiny pool of wealthy investors. Tokenization shatters that model. By turning ownership into a digital token, that same building can now be represented by, say, 1 million digital tokens. Each token is a tiny fractional share of the property. Now, instead of finding one buyer with millions of dollars, you can sell your shares to thousands of smaller investors all over the world on a digital marketplace. And because it's on a blockchain, the transaction settles almost instantly. The moment you sell your token, the money is in your account. the T+1 settlement delay. Gone. For banks, this is a goldmine. First, the operational savings are immense. Smart contracts, self-executing code built into the tokens can automate jobs that currently require entire departments. Think dividend or interest payments. A smart contract can be programmed to automatically send the right amount of money to every token holder on the right date. No manual intervention needed. It's a back-office revolution. Second, it unlocks trillions of dollars in value currently trapped in illiquid assets. A widely cited 2022 report from Boston Consulting Group projected that the market for tokenized assets could swell to over $16 trillion by 2030. While other analysts like McKinsey have more conservative forecasts, they all point to a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. By being the ones to create, manage, and trade these tokens, banks are positioning themselves as the gatekeepers to this enormous new market. The big players are already making their moves. SWIFT, the network behind most international bank transfers, is partnering with major banks and Chainlink to test how they can transfer tokenized assets across different blockchains. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has been vocal, stating that the tokenization of securities is the next generation for markets. And JP Morgan has its own blockchain platform, Onyx, which recently expanded to use JPM coin on public blockchains to process billions in transactions. The message is clear. The race to turn every asset into a digital token has begun, and the banks plan to be the ones running the racetrack. Okay, so the banks are building a new financial system using stablecoins for speed and tokenization for profit. It's a fundamental shift happening faster than most people realize. If you want to stay ahead of these trends and understand what they mean for your own financial future, you should definitely check out my deep dive video on how tokenization could change real estate investing forever. I'll link it down in the description. Now, back to the bank's master plan. Here's the critical twist. After all that, you might be thinking banks have finally seen the light, that they've embraced the crypto revolution to help build an open, decentralized future. But that would be a complete misunderstanding of their strategy. Banks are not adopting crypto. They are adapting crypto technology for their own purposes. They've looked at the wild, permissionless world of public blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum and said, "We love the tech, but we hate the anarchy." Their goal isn't to join the revolution. It's to build a newer, better, more efficient version of the same walled garden they already control. Think about the systems they're building. JP Morgan's Onyx platform and its JPM coin, even when operating on a public blockchain like Base, remain permissioned. You have to be an approved client to use them. These are not open networks for everyone. They decide who's in and who's out. This lets them get the cost savings of the technology without giving up the control and the fees that come with being the gatekeeper. At the same time, they're working hard to shape regulations to their advantage. As governments figure out how to handle digital assets, bank lobbyists are pushing for rules that favor them. They're arguing that only regulated banks should be allowed to issue stablecoins or tokenize assets, framing it as a matter of public safety. In the U.S., they are heavily influencing legislation like the Genius Act of 2025 and the subsequent rules proposed by regulators like the FDIC and OCC, which create a clear bank-centric path for issuing stablecoins. They are building a regulatory moat around their new businesses to lock out non-bank competitors. This is where the game theory kicks in. For years, banks could afford to watch from the sidelines. But now that a major player like JP Morgan has proven the model, every other bank CEO has to act. If you don't have a blockchain strategy, you risk being left behind, stuck with a slow, expensive analog system while your competitors are operating in a faster, cheaper digital world. It's an arms race, and the result is a stampede of institutional capital into building a version of crypto that banks can own and control. Any doubt about this institutional pivot has been erased by the sheer scale of what's happening right now. This is no longer a secret. The only secret was that they started planning it years before they admitted it. Just look at the data. Recent surveys from late 2025 show that a massive chunk of institutional investors, with some studies indicating over 50% of hedge funds, now have an allocation to digital assets. Other reports show that the average institutional portfolio's digital asset allocation is projected to more than double in the next 3 years. The floodgates are wide open. The most obvious sign was the launch of spot Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock, a company managing over $10 trillion, threw its full weight behind it, and its IBIT ETF quickly became one of the fastest growing in history, with cumulative assets across major Bitcoin ETFs soaring well past $80 billion. Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, Invesco, they're all in. These are the pillars of the global financial system, and they're now actively selling crypto products. But the ETFs are just the surface. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley all have crypto trading desks and offer custody services for their biggest clients. The most stunning example might be Anchorage Digital, which became the first federally chartered crypto bank back in 2021. And that was just the start. In late 2025, the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, granted conditional approvals for national trust charters to a new wave of crypto-native firms, including Circle, BitGo, and Ripple. The system isn't just tolerating crypto anymore. It's creating officially sanctioned banks to manage it. This flood of institutional adoption is the ultimate validation. It normalizes the asset class, creates deeper liquidity, and builds the infrastructure needed for their own private blockchain projects. The "I told you so" moment for early crypto believers has arrived, but it comes with a heavy dose of irony. The validation they wanted has come in the form of an invasion, with the old guard now set to lead a tamed, corporatized version of the revolution. So, what's the bottom line? For years, banks waged a public war against crypto, calling it a fraud while secretly dissecting its technology. They saw that their own financial system was old and inefficient, and they realized blockchain was the solution. They started with stablecoins, digital dollars that let them move money instantly and cheaply across the globe. Then they moved on to the grand prize: tokenization, a technology that can turn trillions of dollars in real-world assets into new, tradable digital products, creating a profit machine for the 21st century. But don't mistake this for a conversion. It's a conquest. Banks are building private, permissioned systems to keep control. They're lobbying regulators to build a walled garden that favors them. What we're witnessing isn't the decentralization of finance. It's the re-centralization of finance on new, hyper-efficient digital rails. The old power structures aren't being torn down. They're being upgraded. And that leaves us with a huge question for the future. Is this just the natural evolution of banking, a necessary upgrade to an outdated system? Or are we watching the creation of a more powerful, more entrenched, and more centralized financial system, all disguised in the revolutionary clothing of crypto? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our financial world. Thanks for watching.